I'd like to show you how to make a truffle cake, and we're going to do this in a heart shape. This cake is for those of you who love chocolate and who maybe can't eat flour on a particular occasion. And the chocolate that I'm going to use is a Belgian chocolate, and I don't think you can get anything better than that, although I'm sure people would argue the point, but that's my favorite. Anyway, what I have here is a flan ring that happens to be shaped in a heart. And I have taken either some, I use my non-stick coating, or you can use the pump type thing perhaps, to save the environment. And I caused the paper, the parchment paper, to stick to this because I don't want it to move. So then I have taken and wrapped foil around the flan ring here because I don't want the batter to ooze out. And what I'm going to do is bake this somewhat like a custard, and I'm going to fill this with hot water and put it in the oven. Now what I'm going to do also, I'm going to bake it in the oven for approximately 10 minutes uncovered, and then I'm just going to put some foil on the top and bake it for another 20 minutes or so until it poofs up in the center, but I don't want the top to get overdone. So the temperature that you use is 425. Okay, so I've got all the parts here for you. And now what I have here are 9 room temperature eggs, approximately a pound of eggs, and I'm going to set them on some hot water, and I'm going to put my gloves on here, and I'm going to stir these eggs. I don't want these eggs to cook, but I'm going to whip these eggs once they're hot enough. So we're going to just stir this around using fingers here. You don't have to embed your whole hand in this thing, but just keep it rapidly stirring because, again, we want the eggs to warm, but we don't want them to cook. So that would be sad because you wouldn't get any volume. So the eggs in this case, these whipped eggs are what's going to create this light texture for this torte. When it bakes, it looks somewhat like a mousse, and then as it cools, it gets a little more dense. So this is an incredibly rich dessert that I'm going to fill with a raspberry puree and some more Belgian chocolate glaze. Okay, the eggs, I can feel the bowl getting warm. Again, I'm stirring the eggs vigorously, and so I think that these eggs are warm enough. So for your info, we'll stick our thermometer in here. So the eggs are about 97 degrees. So we know that the eggs are warm enough at that point. And we're going to stick our whip on here, and we're going to be beating this until the ribbon stage, which might take 10 minutes. So you have to be patient, but you definitely want to beat them to a great volume. In the meantime, what we're going to have on the heat, although we're almost finished here, is we're going to have 1.5 pounds of our Belgian chocolate and 12 ounces of unsalted butter, and we're going to melt these together. This is almost melted. I had it on a pot and over hot water, so we're about ready to stir this. So I'm going to turn on the eggs, and I'm going to stir this and get this to where it's supposed to be, because what we're going to do is fold this in to the beaten eggs. Here we go. Our egg foam is ready. Almost soft peaks. Beautiful. Okay, now what we need to do first, before we put them all together, let's take the temperature of the chocolate and see what we have here. We have about 110 as the temperature of our chocolate, which is okay to do what we're going to do now. It's too hot to temper chocolate at that temperature, but this of course has the butter in it. What we need to do is lighten this mixture. We're going to lighten the chocolate mixture with some foam, and then we're actually going to combine the two. This is a skimmer, which is, I don't want to use my hands just yet because chocolate is a little bit on the warm side, but we're going to just use this, and we're going to fold it in I'll just lighten this up, turning, turning, turning. Folding is taking the chocolate, or this particular mixture is chocolate, but you can kind of take it from the bottom and put it on the top. So we're making layers. And now we're going to pour this into our foam. And now I'm going to take my hand and we're going to fold this. I've opened my hand and I'm folding this, turning and folding, taking from the bottom, putting it on the top. You can see how much lighter this is. Now, I've gotten ready my trusty scale, and I'm going to now, hopefully, equally as humanly possible, divide this batter amongst the two cake pans. To move this over a little bit. It's okay if one is there's a little bit on the crusade. Okay, we need to turn on the scale, zero it out. Okay, and we want approximately 1 pound 9 ounces of foam mixture in each one. You can see it looks very moussey. And I'm not really concerned that there's some streaks of foam still left in here because we don't want to overmix the eggs and destroy the foam. So I'm filling this, and because I tiered it between the two heart-shaped cakes, I know that I have 1 pound 9 and 1 pound 9 exactly. I'm now going to add boiling water to the cake pans, about half full. Careful not to get anything into the chocolate. Okay, and then we're going to take these to the oven, and we're going to bake them at 425 degrees for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to cover them with foil and continue baking for 20 to 30 minutes until the centers poof up a little bit. Then I know that it's done. This is our torte that has been cooling for an hour. And now it has shrunk just a little bit. When it comes out of the oven, it's poofy a little in the center. And then we're going to be able to take it out of here. Oops. And we're going to put it on our pan. So we've unmolded, removed the flan rings, and I'm going to wrap this in some plastic and refrigerate this until firm, and then we're going to fill it with raspberry puree and chocolate glaze, and then glaze it into a shining heart beauty. And what I've done is I have melted 13 ounces of Belgian chocolate with 8 ounces of unsalted butter and 2 tablespoons of corn syrup, and melted this over a Bain Marie. And I'm stirring this well. Actually, I can bring this down here to show you. And we're going to stir this until all the butter is incorporated into the chocolate. And then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of cognac. And that will be our filling and glaze for this delectable, light, fluffy cake. But we have to allow this to cool. So after I add the brandy, or the cognac, excuse me, we're going to cool this. And I have some icing that's already done, and I'm going to show you why we're cooling it. Woo. 3 tablespoons. So liqueur with chocolate and other flavors adds a depth, so I really like to use a lot of liqueurs. And then what I have to do is I have to chill this, or you can simply leave it out for some hours until it firms up so that it's thick enough to fill and what I call crumb ice the cake. And then we're going to melt it again and create a glaze. Okay, so this I'm going to chill. And this is the glaze that is at the right consistency for filling and frosting. Okay, so what I'd start with now is a piece of thin foam or possibly a shelf liner, non-stick shelf liner, and we're going to hope that this grounds our cake so it doesn't float around on a turntable. And we're going to start off by putting one of the cakes that I have chilled on the cardboard that is a little bit bigger than the cake itself. And I'm going to take 2 ounces of raspberry puree and put this on here. And we're going to mix the icing. Sometimes if you just do a puree like this, your cakes slip and slide. So we're going to just combine this with a little bit of chocolate and kind of mix it right on the cake. Kind of a marbling. Okay, so mix this in here. Try and spread that raspberry all over. And this cake is going to be eaten at room temperature, and right now it's pretty firm when we eat it. It's going to be like a mousse. I'm going to turn this over. This is the bottom of this cake. I'm going to turn it over like this. Okay, now we're going to begin to crumb ice this, and if you notice, there's a lot of imperfections on this. The cakes are mousse-like when you bake them in the oven, so they're like a custard. So they're not perfect, so we're going to fix that. And you do have to work with this when it's very cold. So we're going to ice this in a typical fashion, and we're aiming to. Let me just see if I can show you. We're aiming to cover the board, and we're trying to get a ridge on the top so we can see that we're covering all the imperfections here. Now this is going to end up being glazed, a shiny glaze, but we need to do this so that the glaze looks really, really pretty. So, phase 1. Okay. You can see that it wants to come apart because it's like a mousse, chilled chocolate mousse. Turn the heat down over there. Okay. So this is going to be extra special. This cake will serve about 30 people because it is so rich. So this is great for a party or something. Okay, now we're going to take the offset and just put ever so little on here. Fix one little spot here. Get the ridge. Okay. Just cover it very, very lightly. Okay, and then I'm going to smooth this with the spatula and scrape off any excess. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect because we're going to glaze over this. All right, offset spatula. Just take off the extra. It's okay if we have some exposed there, it's okay. Because again, this is not the final. This. So we're going to put this cake, lift this up, put this on here. We're going to put this back on the heat. and we're going to warm this up so it's pourable. So this will take a few minutes. So you can see it's going, but if you can see the shiny part on the bottom, we're going for the shiny. So it's definitely not warm enough. Beautiful. Okay. I'm going to show you again. It's a little bit thick because you can still see a clear ribbon here. So we want to get it a little warmer. This is definitely hotter than, this is a dough thermometer that is good up through 0 to 500 degrees. So the chocolate now is about 116 degrees, which is definitely far and above what you would need to temper it. But we need it to be warm enough so it spreads beautifully over this cake. The cake is chilled, so we don't want it to set until it's covered the cake. On the edge. Touch it up a little bit, kind of go around. It's not on a turntable. It's looking pretty good. Okay, right here, we'll touch that up. Shake this a little bit, just to tap it so the excess comes off. Then we have to let that sit until it's cooled a little bit, and then we're going to put it on our platter. Now our torte has cooled and set, and I'm just scraping off the bottom extra glaze, which again we're going to save in the bowl and use it again for another beautiful, delicious project here. Okay. Now we're going to use our trick again. What I need to do is I need to bring tape over here so that when we put it on the platter it doesn't slide. And I'm going to take my spatula. You don't want fingerprints. I'm going underneath and I'm letting it go. And here we have it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to embellish this with a gum paste ornament. And this is something that I'm just going to lay right on the top. So this is going to make our dessert extra, extra special. And there you are.